Have you ever wondered why women do not leave their abusive partners? We're going to talk about that today. So first I want to say, if you can help get these messages out, please help. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, hit the like button, and please share these messages with others because you never know, you just might save a life. So today we're going to talk about why women don't leave, and specifically isolation and how that impacts it. Those who have little or no experience with victims of domestic violence often ask these questions. Why doesn't she just leave them? Or they ask, why does she go back to him? They ask these questions because they do not understand what keeps a victim tied to her aggressor. They don't understand how it is a situation of unequal power and control that the aggressor has created in their relationship. Also, this is an emotional relationship in which the victim loves the aggressor and just wishes the abuse will stop. There's hope that he will change, and many victims often believe that their behaviors are the cause of violence because the aggressor uses shame and other accusations to manipulate his victim into believing that if she just does this or does that or doesn't do this, that the violence will not be triggered. The victim's blamed and shamed to keep them in that abusive relationship. Each case is different, but also the same, and reasons for staying can be complicated in the mind of the victim. Leaving is difficult and dangerous, and even when the victim knows it is the right thing to do, she still doubts that she can or that she should leave him. As we discussed in The Cycle of Abuse, victims might try to leave their aggressors multiple times before they finally leave for good or are murdered. In almost every case of domestic violence, the aggressor begins a slow manipulation to isolate the victim from their family, their friends, and other forms of support to make her completely dependent on him. Dr. Lisa Aronson Fontes published a report in the magazine Psychology Today in which she spoke about how domestic abusers groom and isolate their victims. And she writes, violent and controlling relationships may begin with overwhelming attention, sweet words, and gifts that make future victims close their eyes to the red flags indicating potential abuse. Intense romance can be a form of grooming, she says, a predatory tactic that is meant to build a deep emotional connection. And abusers know exactly what they're doing. So let's look at a real story. Sarah was 22 when she met 30-year-old Sam. Within 2 weeks, he had moved into her apartment, put his name on her bank account, claimed her every second when she was not at work. Sam asked her about her most intimate experiences, secrets, and dreams, and accompanied Sarah whenever she went out. At first, Sarah was elated. No man had ever loved her this intensely. He put away their phones when they were together so they could, concentrate on each other. He pushed her to skip events at work and with friends, saying their relationship was the priority. He made exciting alternatives for plans for the holidays, so she missed family gatherings. Sam asked Sarah for access to all of her social media accounts as a sign of trust. And when Sarah objected, Sam accused her of lacking commitment and became sullen. He classified all her attempts at privacy or independence as signs that she did not love him. Sarah gave in. It was easier than fighting, and she desperately wanted to preserve the purity of their love. Sam had groomed Sarah into isolation, and isolation made her vulnerable to further coercive control. Romantic gestures can abruptly turn into intimidation, and abusers typically blame their partners for growing tensions. Victims will work really hard to try to appease their abusers, trying to keep themselves safe and get back into the early glow. Here's another story. After a romantic dinner one evening, Steve began kissing and taking off the clothes of his girlfriend, Mary. She kissed him back, but said she didn't want to have sex. So Steve grabbed her hard by both arms and stared into her face threateningly. And for the first time, Mary felt afraid of Steve, who was bigger and stronger than she was. At that moment, Mary understood that saying no to sex was not an option. To keep the peace, Mary never again directly refused to do what Steve asked of her sexually. Mary felt intimidated through the remainder of their relationship, but tried to avoid thinking about it. From initially making their partners feel loved unconditionally and like they can do no wrong, abusers then make their partners work hard to please them, blaming and acting hostile when they don't get their way. In another perspective, when the police are called and arrive, or when someone intervenes, the victim might feel she has to protect her partner because in her mind, it is her fault the police are there. She knows her abuser is going to blame her, so she might try to downplay to authorities and others what is going on. And we could clearly see that in the 911 video with Gabby and her partner. And she was putting on herself, well, I hit him with my phone because he just wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop. I hit him first, and, it's just like, I'm having a hard time. It's my fault. All of these things that she was saying was her trying to defend him. And he's there saying, oh, yeah, it's her fault. She's emotional and, all of this. So those are examples that can give flag warnings to you that something's going on. So you want to observe their body language. Is he calm and confident and saying things like she is emotional? Is she crying or looks like she was crying? Is she making statements to downplay what happened or to say nothing happened? Does she appear frightened? These can be telltale signs that abuse is occurring. And a good thing to do would be to ask if she has any friends or family you can call to help her. This will help expose if he has been working to isolate her from them. You could be the person who saves a life. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. Those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the courage and the help that they need to leave before it's too late. The question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you encounter them? The series is dedicated in honor of Gabby Pettito, a bright young woman who the world has lost because of gender violence. If you're a victim of violence, I want you to know this. It's not your fault. You are valued. You're loved. You're intelligent. You're beautiful. And God doesn't want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence and peace and tranquility. And I want you to know that there is a way to end it. Abuse is not love. If you're a victim of violence and you find yourself in danger, dial 911 for help, but also reach out to somebody who can help you. To help get these messages out, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Hit the like button and share these messages with others because you never know, you might be saving a life in doing so. Tomorrow we're going to talk more about how abusers groom the family and friends. Until then, God bless you.